recording?
Yeah.
I thought that we weren't recording. Are you okay with recording, Sybil?
Sure.
That's what this is for.
Oh, I thought this was for, wait a minute. I thought this was just a casual conversation where we were going to talk about what was going to be happening.
I think
No?
this is, as I understand it, this is a conversation that we can use, that AARP can take just a tiny snippet from and do like a promo for our March 27th. Is that the date?
Yes.
Okay. Is that okay with you, Sybil?
Absolutely.
Is that okay with Yoki?
Yeah, it will be. Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
She's moved on with the dogs and.
Oh no, that's her. I know. I mean, that's her job. I understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to write down the balls first to make sure. Okay. Okay. So
I'm trying to, there's a place where I can eliminate her little box. I'm trying to find it right now. I saw it a few minutes ago, but I don't see it now. So we'll just leave it. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Yeah.
oh, now I should put on lipstick.
Put in my, is it okay? I'm going to put her in the waiting room.
No, that's
That
fine.
may do it.
That's
That
fine.
may do it. Yeah. I'm looking at you putting on lipstick.
My godchild.
Okay, now there we go.
Graduated from Spelman and still loves cosmetics. She wanted, when she was 3 or 4 years old, she said, "Oh, Nana Tina, when I get big, I'm gonna buy me a wig." And she loved wigs. She loved them. So her mom's girlfriends used to give her their old wig. And she'd be like this, 7-year-old with this Diana Ross 1961 wig on. And the first time she did it, you know what she said to her mama as they were coming to meet me?
What's that?
Don't say nothing to Nana Tina. Don't say nothing. Like, I'm not going to know this child. Don't say nothing to Nana Tina. But at any rate, she was about 4 years old. We went out to eat. At the end, ladies, all it was all women, and she they were taking out their makeup, and she was sending.
Okay, I started recording again.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we are thrilled, as you know, Sybil, to have you. As a matter of fact, Alice said that Sybil was, when we were talking about who to get, we were talking about different people, and Alice, who is the team leader, said, well, I'm just going to tell you the one I want, because we gave her a list of people. She says, I want Sybil. And so I said, oh, nice. So that's where the discussion started. We didn't think, I didn't think in a million years that you would be available and you could do it and all that. It's just wonderful that it came together. I'm so thrilled.
Tina McElroy Anza, if you call me, I'm there. That's you put out the bat signal, whatever it is, I'm there.
Well, that's funny because I have to show you this. Janae was in the hospital. You know how the caregiver is. He said that my back, I've told Wanda the story a number of times, but Sybil is what I call privately my number one little schoolgirl, because she really is my number one little schoolgirl. But the first time I said it, my other little schoolgirl here said, "Oh, I thought I was number one." And you know what Sybil said, Wanda?
What?
You can be number one if you want to. That's why she's my little school. That's why she's my number one little schoolgirl. Oh, that's wonderful.
Very diplomatic. Okay, let's what we're here to do today, I guess, is talk about the program that we're going to have on the 27th. So why don't you lead the conversation, Sybil?
Well, we are here to talk about the wonderful book, Meeting at the Table. This is a book that compiled and edited by two wonderful women, and that is the ever wonderful and my lifelong friend, Tina McElroy Anza, and Professor Wanda Lloyd. I wanted to talk to you about how the idea of the book came together. I know you discuss it in the intro there, Tina, but first of all, let's talk about how this came to be, but I also want to talk about your friendship and how that was born, because I think the relationship that you have is also carries out throughout as a theme, as if you will, in the book and the women that you have included in this book.
Well, Sybil, it's interesting. Even as you were asking me that question, I was thinking about something new. I mean, this book just keeps giving you ideas, and truly, the book came out of a meeting at the table. Wanda, isn't that true?
That is
But
true.
it was
Tina
over the
called
phone.
me.
It was over the phone, but it was it was truly a meeting at the table. It was June 12th. I wrote down the date of 2020, and we all know what was going on then. We had COVID, number one, and then we have the human rights, the whole push for that. We're seeing George Floyd, killed on camera, 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Um, the protests that came after that, the whole riotous, tumultuous,
Yeah.
painful year that 2020 was, and it was affecting all of us. I lost my husband beginning of 2020, and so Wanda, my friend, who was my freshman college roommate at Spelman, and we're still friends 50 some years later, good friends. She's my right arm and my go-to Sybil. She was keeping a little closer watch on me. I lived on St. Thomas Island, and she was living in Savannah, which is her hometown. And we had been working on her publicity for her memoir, which she published in February of 2020. And then, of course, COVID happened, and then, her tour had to be shut down. So we worked on the tour, and I wrote the foreword for a book. So we had really been getting closer. She was closer physically, in the state. She had moved around a great deal in her journalistic career. And so she was keeping a watch on me, and we were talking, often. And this June day, I called and I asked, like I always do, "Hey, Wanda, how you doing?" And Wanda was real honest. And Wanda is the person you go to. She's not the one. She's your towering strength, okay? And she said, "Tina, I'm not doing that well." She says,
"Yeah, I said I'm not doing well. I'm depressed. I'm sad. I'm tired. I don't know what's happening. We had all the protests. We were watching TV constantly with the protests, and then there was some rioting, some violence that was going on after the death of George Floyd and
death of Breonna Taylor and
Ahmaud Arbery,
right down here about where I live.
Yeah. And so I said, I don't know what to do. What do we do? And at the same time, I was starting to hear from some well-intentioned white friends who said, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that all this racism that you've been talking about all these years is this bad."
Wow.
And that just kind of stunned me, because people were calling me, asking me, what do we do? How do we learn about Black culture? How do we not be in a place where we really don't understand what's going on? We didn't expect this. They didn't expect it when what's his name, Rodney King was beaten up. There are so many instances where people say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know it was this bad," and then you go back, to kind of normal life, and then all of a sudden it happens again, and people are still in wonderment. Well, what's happening? Why is this happening? I don't know if they're the same people, but it's the same reaction. And so Tina and I started talking about, well, what do we do? What can we do? And as writers, we started talking about writing something. We didn't quite know what it was. Maybe it was an op-ed piece or a magazine piece, just to get it out, because that's that's cathartic for us.
I have to jump in here, because I have to tell you, one of the things that I learned, many things I learned about this book, is that when you're in turmoil and stirred up, you can't think straight, and you forget what you have. And I forgot that we had agency. That's why we started talking about writing. Well, we knew we could write something, and then it came to me. Wait a minute, I have a company. And Wanda said, "Well, yes." She says, "Well, good, we could do a book." And she said, "Well, what kind of book?" By the time we finished that conversation on June 12th, we had the title of the book. We messed with it a little bit later on, but we had the basic title. We knew we wanted to have essays because we wanted people to speak from their lives, from their hearts. And we knew that we wanted it to be a book of African American women. We were trying to get, the focus as close as we could, so it's just pinpoint. And so, we decided we would have African American women, and that, so that narrowed it a bit. And then, following the conversation, we started talking about, well, who would we want?
Right. So how does that conversation go? Do you say, this person with the mayor of Atlanta would be a great one, or, Vashti McKenzie, a woman of the
Well,
church?
that's in part how it happened, but quite frankly, we started with, we wanted a variety of women. We wanted younger women and older women. We wanted women who are not all from the East Coast, some women from the Midwest, some women from the West Coast. We wanted, a variety of expertise, somebody who is from the faith community, someone who is from the artistic community. Of course, we knew writers, and we knew some of us would be writers.
But we had gay women and straight women.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we especially age diversity was important to us, and so we just kind of threw that into a basket and stirred it up, and then out came names. We started.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful,
Yeah.
Sybil. We actually sat there and talked about, well, who do you like? And I said, well, shoot, I like so and so. And Wanda said, well, it's a Southern kind of a foreign book that comes from from where we are in the South. So it would be great. Would it be great to get a mayor from down here? I said, well, what about Keisha? And I mean, that's just how it went. And we just collected women. I admired Imani Perry as a scholar so much, and Wanda admired Bishop Vashti McKenzie, Murphy McKenzie, and her writing and her speeches. So that's just how. And a lot of people, a great number of women, because we cast a wide net. Just weren't able to do it. Writers, some were writing. Many of them had their own projects, their own writing projects, and some like Ava DuVernay said she just didn't have the bandwidth. She have the bandwidth. She said, onward, go. I think this is just a wonderful project. No one said that, oh, I don't think this is a good project. They just said, I don't have the time. I can't fit it in. And we had one essayist who said that she couldn't fit it in. And the next day she called us back and said, this is, she said, I couldn't sleep last night. She said, this is an important book. I want to be a part of it. I'm going to make time for it.
Yeah.
So the meeting at the table was created actually in the kitchen, because it just sounds like it was a roux. You all had all of these ingredients.
I
exactly
just realized that while we were talking, Wanda and I had the first of our meeting at the table over the phone. And out of that, the book was created. Wanda and I have, as we say, have known each other since freshman college year at Spelman. And
1967.
1967. Yeah. And we were like night and day, oil and water. It's just on paper we looked good. We were from southern towns, our parents had businesses, and it looked good. We were English majors. But boy, she was.
But that's where it stopped. That's where the similarity stopped.
It was like a comedy routine. She liked the windows up, I liked the windows down. She made her bed every day. I thought, what? You be making your bed when you just don't get back in it tonight? She did her assignments first week. When
Tina
Tina
was down the hall playing cards all night, every night for 2 weeks while I was in the room tapping away on my little electric typewriter.
Wanda would say, come on, Tina, let's get this done. Don't delay. Why don't you just I'm going over to the library. Come on to the library. No, I'm going to go play beer whist. And so she said she was trying to do that because she didn't want to be up all the night before, because that's what I was up over there on my little whatever typewriter, I'm sure it was, manual typewriter, tapping out my assignment. I just realized another one. She is in the Glee Club, and I'm tone deaf. She likes gospel, and I like hip hop. It just goes on and on. It's very funny. But we've learned, Sybil, this is a great discovery, right, Wanda? Instead of Wanda trying to pull me all the way to Google, away from words, she just sort of worked with me, and she would translate things, and absolutely, she would do it. So, she's like this, and I'm like this, and I always say, this is the church, and this is the steeple. We're the church.
Gotcha.
We're the church, and we filled in each other's spots. Wanda is a lot more formal than I am. Just in just about everything.
And Tina's a lot more talkative than I am. You can see that right now, right? He just goes on and on and on. And I used to sit here and I'm thinking, and I'm thinking, who do we want in the book? Well, what is the book going to look like? Well, what should be the main, the main themes of the book? I'm thinking, and Tina's just going on and on and on. Well, I knew somebody 50 years ago who you did that.
but Sybil, it worked. Wanda wrote wonderful, beautiful emails, letters that, we really sent out to, we eventually sent out to
Sure.
everybody. And I hit all my people up on Instagram and Twitter. I mean, it's just that we had different styles, but I was
But it works. It works.
I got Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms on Instagram.
Uh-huh. See?
Hey, who knew?
You never know. What we learned is that what we knew is that we asked for what we wanted.
Right.
We asked for what we wanted. We say, they say, how did you do it? And we started in June 12th.
Mm-hmm.
November 30th, we had books in our hands.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Wow.
that's because Tina has the publishing company, and one of the things we talked about that very day is how important it was to us to get the book done in 2020. We knew that the moment was right, that people really wanted this information. We wanted to get the information out, and we just love the momentum of this project. And so her having the publishing company meant, I had just been through my book publishing, and it took almost a year from the day I submitted my manuscript to my publisher to when I had books in hand. And so I said to Tina, that doesn't work for this book. This is the kind of book that we need to really get out now. And so it's just a blessing. When she launched her publishing company in 2007, she did it in Montgomery. And where I was
and that's where you were working at the time.
Well, I said, why don't you come to Montgomery? And I knew the executive director of the Rosa Parks Museum, and we stood in the lobby of the Rosa Parks Museum and had a press conference and launched Down South Press. And then, we ended up working together in Down South Press years later.
Well, Wanda and I over the years have stayed in touch. We talked about how different we were, so you can imagine we were not roommates the rest of the year. But the thing about it is that
the rest of the other years, we lasted a year. We did last a year.
We did last time. But we were much better friends. Not living together. We learned that early on. But the thing is that Wanda is the person who introduced me to journalism. Wanda came to Spelman knowing she wanted to be a journalist. I just wanted to write. And she likes to say, I just wanted to write. That's what she says about me. But she steered me toward journalism in my junior year. And I said, oh, this is wonderful. I had no idea. So our careers have sort of, I left I left journalism in the 80s and, Wanda, and went to writing fiction. But Wanda has had, a career, lifetime career. As you may know, she was inducted into the NABJ Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame, yes, ma'am.
We are here with royalty. Your sidekick.
That's right. Well, I like to think of him as my sidekick. Yes, absolutely.
There you go.
But this project of the heart of two women and reaching out to each other during a time of turmoil and bringing some sense of peace and some of the heart of Black women, the knowledge, the heart and the spirit of Black women, bringing them together to meet at this table is just an awesome project. And to do it and to put it together in a matter of months it's nothing but Black women that could do this.
It's a blessed project. Right. It really is a blessed project.
We call it Black Girl Magic, doing the work, getting it done. That's right.
Black Girl Magic is, But things also, when you, I have a friend who says that when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, whether it's writing a book or making soup for your sick neighbor or whatever, you're in the state of grace.
That's right.
And things come to you.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened to us. I had a printer who was Paul Coates, the head of Black Press, who has always been my printer, and he tried to talk me out of it. He'd start like he always does. Well, sis, and I go, oh God. And he said, but if everything goes right, Tina, if you don't have any hiccups, getting it out by the end of the year. He was sincere. He really was trying to. And I took the night just like he wanted me to, but I knew we were going to do it. I said, no, we can do this. And so we knew from the beginning that we had no doubt that this book was going to be done and that we were going to do it. And the right voices were coming to us. Because that's what we were asking these women really to go dig deep, these writers, these essayists, and really speak from your heart, from your experience, from what you want to say, but also what comes up, you know? some people wrote about their past, you know, and a lot of mothers talk. You know, some people wrote about one of our essayists. Tragically, you know, her mother was dying when she wrote the essay and passed before we got it published. But she wrote about her mother. And
Yeah.
she got a chance. I mean, what a gift. She got a chance to write about her mother.
And you know what? We talked about, do we have her change it and mention in the essay that her mother passed, or do we just let her finish it? And we did. We let her finish it, and we didn't even tell her we were going to do it. At the end, we just said whatever her mother's name is passed shortly after she submitted the essay, which is absolutely true. And so you read that whole thing knowing her mother is gravely ill, and you really don't know that her mother has passed away until after you finish the piece. That's part of the honesty and the transparency that we wanted with these essays. Just write. Don't worry about, you know, we'll edit it to fit. You know, we'll make sure it's accurate. We'll make sure that the words are good, but you just write, and write from your heart, write from your experiences, share your experiences with people. And then the other thing that I talked to Tina about early on was I wanted to be sure that we were instructive, that we showed people a way forward, that each of the essays at the end, by the end, would say, if you really want to do something, here are some things you can do. You know, you can read certain kinds of books, you can celebrate different kinds of ethnic holidays, you know, go with a friend to a Black History program at some point, you know, when we get out of COVID. Have your own meetings at the table. Invite somebody to your faith organization to worship with you, or invite them to your house for dinner, or you go to their house for dinner. How many times have we as Black people, not just Black women, you know, been in a multiracial situation where we literally are breaking bread in each other's homes in comfort and having really good, honest conversations, but also understanding how we live. And in the end, we find out that we really all live the same. We want the same things, and we do the same things. You know, we want to be sure our families is well taken care of, that our children are educated, you know, that we have the roof over our heads that is most comfortable that we can afford. And so it really takes sometimes a meeting at the table to understand that we have so many more similarities than differences among us. And now that we have this term meeting at the table, I've called Tina a couple of times because I've had recent minor racist incidents where somebody challenged whether I was good enough to be somewhere after the book was published. And I called Tina, I said, girl, we need a meeting at the table. You will not believe what just happened to me.
Right.
So, you know, so it has a lot
the title of your story, Professor, is Racism WTF, right? And
which I love.
I absolutely love. And I'm just wondering, for you and your decision to write in that particular subject, and to bear so much of, you know, just when you were at the height of your success and moving back to your hometown to be a professor and to live in a beautiful home and to have this happen to you, what does that do to your spirit as it's happening? But then how has your spirit changed when you are writing that story? Because it's one thing to go through it, and it's another thing to write it and to share it with so many people.
Well, the first thing I'll tell you is that was not the first title for that essay. I think it was something like Racism is a Burden or something like that, something fairly bland. And as I was writing the piece, I thought about a few incidents that had happened to me. You know, as I mentioned, I had finished my memoir, but I couldn't put everything in the memoir. And I started thinking about what are some of the other stories and incidents that have happened, not just in Jim Crow, because my book is from Jim Crow to journalism, but this wasn't Jim Crow era. This was like last year. I mean, it was 2013, but it was like
in the 2000s.
Yeah, in the 2000s that this happened. And so I told a short story about something that had happened to me. And then then I did go back a little bit to talk about a story with my husband and my daughter. Again, that was not Jim Crow. That was in the 1990s. You know, this stuff is still going on. So when you say, what does it happen? How does it affect your spirit? First of all, we have to realize that racism ain't dead. I mean, we know that every day. We see that every day. And second, it really did help me to share these stories, because when I tell people these stories, you know, I don't just go around talking about it all the time. But if somebody says to me, well, have you ever experienced racism? And I really have to sit back and think and go, Well, yeah, I have. And then they said, well, what happened? And it really takes me a while to think about because so much has happened that it's hard to compartmentalize and say, well, this happened on this day, this happened on this day, when quite
and
frankly,
sometimes
something
you
happened
don't want,
last week.
sometimes you don't want to repeat these things. I mean, it wears on your spirit having to say, even to repeat and say, this happened to me, or to remember it. You were talking about, what does it do to you in the long run? I think it just wears you down. It's a war of attrition. Just, keep wearing you down. One of the things I was thinking about with Wanda's story is, you can imagine, Wanda's the more formal of this duo, and when I got to, she was waiting for me I edited her essay and she edited my introduction. We put, remember, half of the essays were Wanda's, half of them were mine, and then we switched up so everybody could read everybody's essay.
Sure.
And the editors could read everybody's essay. But when I got to Wanda's not the cursing kind. So when I got to that line in her essay, I said, "Oh my goodness, that's got to be the title." I mean, what else would it be? It's a wonderful essay. It's very transparent, and what you were just saying, it's true. We asked these women, some of them we knew and some of them we didn't know, to bare themselves and to be transparent, to tell stories of how racism hurt them. I mean, that's a big thing to ask somebody. Go digging into your past and come up with this hurtful experience. Share it with us and then bring some light to it. Share it with us and teach us a lesson with it. And so many of the essays will say, that as editors, we really were doing our job, go back and dig deeper if they weren't digging as deep, we would just talk to them. As Wanda was just explaining about one of the essayists who lost her mother, as you can imagine, all these women are our children and our sisters now. All of them, little Anika Noni Rose, who is our princess, the Disney princess. Exactly. We wrote a beautiful essay about being royalty and how that made her immune and how that didn't make her immune.
Sure.
And isn't it interesting that we now have another conversation going on about a Black woman in royalty?
That's right.
And her
the timing, it was just.
I'm telling you, these things they come back. What goes around comes around. It just keeps going on and on and on. Maybe different people, maybe different situations, different city, but really the situations are the same. And so if you share with me some of your, incidents that happen, and I share with you, we really realize that we're hearing the same thing from people.
That's right.
People are treating us in the same way. They're looking at us and going, oh, well, they're successful. They live in a nice community and they have a nice, they have a nice car, they have nice clothes, they go to work every day, or they're successful in their careers. And then you find out, oh, wait a minute, but have you ever had racism? A racist incident? And of course, we all have. And so this is really one of the things we wanted people to know. Don't just look at us and assume that we've lived in a bubble and nothing has ever happened to us. We all have experienced racism. And if we haven't experienced it lately, we will tomorrow. It'll come up.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing that I was struck in the telling of some of these stories, and you talk about, being in a newsroom and keeping your head down as all the white folks are having the conversations and you're doing your work. And I'm just thinking in terms of as your white colleagues are reading this book, are reading the stories of these people, and it's not so much it's not so much the conversation, which is important, that we have with white people and people of other colors and denominations and religions and what have you, but it's the conversations they have outside of our presence as what they have gathered. I think taking this book and taking the stories and what they will share with others about that conversation as they are trying to work through this whole question of race in this country. I think that's going to be big.
We were thinking, we think the same thing. We wanted essays because we didn't want something long that people would, get tired of. We wanted them to be able to sit down and read it and want something in one sitting. You can, you can start in the middle, or you can start if you know somebody who's written it. So we wanted to make the book as accessible as it could be for everybody. We wanted to be able to, like you say, for you to share it with your girlfriends if you're Black, but definitely share it with your girlfriends if you're white, or if they're white. This is a safe place. You and I have talked about this before, Sybil, books are safe places
That's
where
right.
people can, it's like an umbrella. You can all get under it. You can read it at your own pace, all the rest. So one of the things is we wanted to share experiences, but as Wanda said, we also wanted to stoke the conversation. One of
Yeah.
the reasons that, it keeps coming in waves is that we don't deal with it.
Yeah.
Dig it down, and then it comes up because everything bubbles up from the earth, and it
Yeah.
bubbles up again. So I mean, we're very excited about the book and very hopeful that the book will do its job in educating people, but also bringing people together, stoking conversation, getting the truth out there. Again, it's a safe place. I'm hoping that book clubs certainly do it. We've already done a number of book clubs, but I think I'm interested in Wanda as well in reaching a wide swath of people. Not just us speaking to ourselves over and over again, because I know Black women are going to recognize themselves and really be moved by many of the
That's right.
stories in here. But we also want people who don't recognize these stories, have never heard them, didn't even know they exist, to read them and share them with people as well.
Not only are they going to be captured, I'm sorry, that's Ramsey. Not only are they going to be
It's our
captured
babies.
by the words, by the stories, and by the sharing of communal events, if you will, but they're also going to be captivated by the cover.
Yes.
And it is,
Tell them about the cover.
please.
Yeah. So I reached out to Cynthia St. James, who I had sort of struck up a friendship with through social media in the last year, a couple of years before we started the book. And I sent her that formal email that Tina just talked about and asked her if she would consider writing an essay, because I knew she would have stories to tell. And she said, you know what, I'm really busy. I'm working on my own book. I have a deadline for my book coming up, another book of hers. She said, but what if I send you 2 pieces of art and you choose one for the cover? And so she donated the cover to us. When Tina talks about the grace that we have been afforded in this project, Cynthia gave us this cover. Because of a relationship, and that was perfect. We had 2 to choose from, but we thought just the colors, not just the colors of the clothes, but the skin tones, the different skin tones, the different hair textures, the different hairstyle, the coming together. They are all huddled together, which is another message that this is a meeting going on. We are having a conversation.
And it almost looks like a table.
It does.
It almost does. Yeah,
it does.
And so then Tina had a relationship with Paula Wallace, who's the president of Savannah College of Art and Design, SCAD, right here in Savannah, because Paula had supported her on her last novel by helping her with that. And Tina reached out just to say, we have this project going. If there's anything you can do to help us. Within minutes, Paula put us in touch with one of her people in her publishing division, and they designed the words on the cover and the back of the cover and the inside.
And the design on the inside. They created the font for us.
Yeah.
And it was a woman of color.
That's awesome.
And then they said, well, we're going to promote the book. We're going to do a pre-launch party for you. And it was a virtual pre-launch party. And so they donated that, of course. And so in October, a month before the book came out, we had this pre-launch party where we brought some of the essayists together for the first time, I might add. We never even laid eyes on a couple of those folks before SCAD brought us together. We have since had a meeting at the table with almost all of them. I don't know that we'll ever all get together because of schedules, but it was a pass the mic kind of thing. And so, God's grace just shines on all parts of this book, because not only were people donating their time and their talent, but they were also almost all of them were women, and that was important to us to have this woman project.
And that energy really did keep it going.
And that sisterhood is so vital. I mean, you all learned that at an early age, as the women of Spelman. And you may have even learned it earlier in your families and in your communities, but certainly there's nothing like the power, the grace, as you have talked about, and the will and spirit of Black women coming together and working on this project, a project like this, a project of the heart, of the soul, and the mind. And
Yeah.
I look forward to, being a part of this when we do come together on March 27th. This will be on March 27th, and the meeting of the minds at the table, meeting at the table with AARP. It's March 27th, and what do you think that we will? Who will we have as a part of that discussion? Do you think?
Well, they've already started promoting it. There's an invitation, sort of, they call it a CVite, like an Evite. They've already reached out to dozens of people, have already signed up about a week ago. So we haven't checked in the last few days, but we anticipate quite a large audience because AARP is a national, maybe perhaps an international audience. And so we're looking forward to having a meeting at the table with so many people. And Sybil, we just want to thank you for bringing us to leading us this discussion at our table and helping us today to just kind of get our thoughts together, and also to help us put something together that's going to show people what this conversation is going to look like, with a couple of other essayists in the book on that day, March 27th. So thank you so much.
The bishop, the AME Bishop Vashti Murphy McKenzie will be joining us in that conversation, as well as Peachy Wimbush Polk, who is it's wonderful essay, who is in her own right a wonderful writer and an activist, a cannabis activist, and an activist for LGBTQ, and also the mother of Wiz Khalifa.
That's right.
The rap legend. I think they call him, and she writes beautifully.
Yes.
Beautifully about the changes in her city of Pittsburgh, and how government agencies and government choices of the government affected families, and how families reacted to that, and where we are now. And she's very much an activist for young people.
Yes.
She's associated with a number of organizations. She's a former vet, Air Force, I think. And but she's very involved with young people and reaching out to them, not just I was going to say not just because of Wiz Khalifa, but Wiz Khalifa is because of her.
Right. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I just want to, Professor Lloyd, you were also talking about this because you have written your wonderful memoir, Coming Full Circle, From Jim Crow to Journalism. And now with this book.
Excuse me, Sybil. Who publishes 2 books in 1 year? I mean, come on. You talk about Black girl magic, okay?
Exactly.
She publishes Coming Full Circle, her memoir, in February, and then publishes Meeting at the Table in November.
In the middle of a pandemic, in the middle, and just living your lives, having these emotional highs and lows, and bearing your soul, all of this. Dr. Lloyd, that's incredible. It really is.
Thank you.
Did you hear? It's what we do.
I love this book so much, and I can't encourage people to purchase and to read it, and to bring your questions to the table, the meeting at the table on March 27th, because it is all of us are going to identify more ways than one, and not just one of these beautiful essays. It's going to be a multitude of essays that's going to strike a chord in many of us. I mean, I had that just that guttural, that below my skin level reaction to reading about someone losing their mother. And it took me back to a time 30 years ago, and going through the same thing. But I also, Professor Lloyd, got that with you and keeping your head down as you're in the newsroom, and that conversation. And my mom, telling me when I was a little girl that she did not want me to have my first interaction with white people going to graduate school as she did. You know what I mean? And so, and these conversations that were had at home that were not had out in the world, and acquainting ourselves with people who did not look like us and were not raised in the same way, but having a connection with them, and while maintaining our connection with our communities. All of these things I got reacquainted with in Meeting at the Table.
Well, thank
I'm
you.
so
Thank you.
happy. That
much.
makes it
Thank you.
very happy, very happy. The book, I don't know how we do this, but the book is available online at the
Okay.
publishers. Down South Press.
Down South, I'm sorry, what is the name of the publishing company?
The publishing company is Down South Press, and the website is downsouthpress.com, and you can purchase
.com.
the book there. Yes.
Thank you. Thank
This
you,
has been
Sybil.
great, Sybil. Any time spent with you is a good time.
Oh, it's always a joy to talk to you, and whether I'm number 1 or number 2 or number 3 amongst your little schoolgirls,
Still my little school girl. Oh,
I
yeah,
appreciate being at the table.
when we all get vaccinated, I'm going to go on a tour, a hugging tour, and you're on
Right.
the tour, okay?
Exactly right.
Yes, Tina was actually going to go on book tour with me. We had it all set up. You know, she was delayed a little bit because she was caregiving for her husband, and then after he passed away, you know, she needed to put some time there. But after a while, she said, "Okay, I'm ready. Let's start planning a date." And as soon as we set our dates in motion, and we knew we had a road trip planned, you know, we know that COVID took over. But you know, in many ways, you know, God, they say God's not through with you yet. So
That's right.
in many ways, we did something much more significant than just, you know, go from hopping and skipping a jump from city to city. We're leaving a legacy. So we're really happy that you're going to share in the joy of that on March 27th. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording because I think